Former Border Patrol Chief Greg Bovino is now under investigation. A little bit informally, but perhaps it could bear fruit. And by the way, it's not just for wearing his fancy little Nazi coat or whatever. No, this is for his actual actions in Minnesota. The things he did that risked other people's lives and also risked his own life because he's fairly incompetent, as so many of them are. I want to play a video of him attempting and failing to throw a tear gas canister. Take a look.
I'm in the gas. Get back. Gas is coming. Gas is coming. Second warning.
We're filling you. Gas on Bill, Bovino.
Third warning.
Gas on Bill.
All right. Gas.
You just get back.
Get back.
So that's the sort of thing that is now leading to him being investigated. I just have a couple thoughts about that. First of all, I love his little, I'm warning you, meh, or whatever. Like, I don't know, maybe if you'd put less thought into the yelling and more into the throwing like a big boy, you wouldn't have the gas immediately wafting back into your own face. Also, oh man, those guys, how much do they love putting on the camo? You know, that like woodland camo that perfectly conceals you in the snowy streets of Minnesota. But no, they do like being in camo with big vests and their guns and they got tasers and they got all that stuff. So you know what? They better be the first in line to sign the F up when we start invading Iran by ground. Oh, they wanna be big boys. They wanna be soldiers. Okay, you wanna be soldiers? Go be a soldier in an actual war and not just abusing kids and teenage protesters and all that. You want to be a big boy, go do a big boy thing over in Iran. I have a feeling they probably will not be signing up in record numbers. But anyway, at least for now, we have an investigation. This is by the new Transparency and Accountability Project initiative that collects and assesses evidence submitted by the public to identify, quote, potentially unlawful behavior by federal agents during the Operation Metro Surge that you saw documented right there. So we know some of the crimes are very well documented at this point. We have a lot of video evidence of them murdering Renee and Pretty as well. But there's a lot of other things they did that could be potentially damaging to a number of people that didn't yet result in their deaths. So let's jump into a little bit of what they're concerned about. So that team is actively investigating 17 different incidents already that have been brought to our attention by the community, including Bovino's actions near Muller Park on January 21st. We will investigate and pursue charging where appropriate, and we'll seek collaboration with local law enforcement wherever and whenever needed. And so the concern there is that these tear gas canisters is not just like a fun party trick that you do. That stuff is bad. It can lead to really negative health consequences, both in the short term, like it can trigger respiratory issues that people have, but also in the long term is that there's a lot of concern about the potential cancer that those sorts of things can inflict on people. And so that's gonna be looked into, which is good. What's not good is that the DHS doesn't take literally any of this seriously. Now, we're not surprised by that, but it still does suck that they don't care what goons like Bovino get up to. So a DHS spokesperson said in a statement that the inquiry into Bovino's immigration enforcement tactics, quote, does nothing to make Minnesota safer. Enforcing federal immigration laws is a clear federal responsibility under Article 1, Article 2, and the Supremacy Clause. Yeah, the issue is that really has nothing to do with what we're talking about. Whether you think that they are supposed to in general enforce immigration law, dear DHS spokesperson, doesn't mean that literally anything they do while saying they're enforcing the law is suddenly legal or constitutional or wise. Certainly, and since you're not gonna take it seriously, somebody needs to, like this organization. Also, I take issue with your first statement that it does nothing to make Minnesota safer. I think perhaps that it does. Since the main threat to the citizens of Minnesota since you began Operation Metro Surge is your agents, Bovino, gunning them down, anything that makes that a little bit less likely or that makes you at least scared that there might be consequences probably does make Minnesotans a little bit safer. Throwing tear gas in their face does nothing to make them safer, but an investigation of your little fancy boy Nazi, that just might make them a little bit safer. Now the spokesperson goes on to say, what these states are trying to do is unlawful and they know it. Federal officials acting in the course of their duties are immune from liability under state law. Again, we have a very significant difference of opinion when it comes to whether this is actually when enforcing their duties and what the scope of that actual impunity is. Now, look, I have no doubt, and I'm sure the organization doing the investigation, the states that are working with them, have no doubt that no matter how egregious the evidence is that they acquire, nothing's gonna be done about it right now. No, we're like very, I think, open-eyed about the dark place that we live in. But at some point, if we throw your asses out, including that spokesperson for the DHS, then maybe we could get serious governance once again. Maybe at that point, we could use that evidence to investigate, to charge, and potentially lock up some of these Border Patrol and ICE agents that are abusing the law. For now, this is the most that we can do, is to document the horrors that we see, document all of the excesses and the unconstitutional acts of our authoritarian rulers and their henchmen in the streets, and perhaps hope that at some point we'll go back to a reasonable place so we could do something with it.